Hello and welcome to an emergency edition of the Texas Private School Podcast. We literally just got finished recording our episode like 10 minutes ago, and this news broke literally within that time frame. Fort Worth Nolan Catholic has fired their athletic director and suspended their football coach, Coach Beaudin, amid all these recruiting scandals. Basically, some rundown very quickly. Fort Worth Nolan Taps said that Nolan played with ineligible players. They had to forfeit 2 district games, which dropped them out of a tie with Parish for first in district. Taps claimed that Nolan didn't get paperwork in time. Nolan claims that it wasn't in time. This news right now, this is probably a lot bigger than paperwork. There is probably a lot more going on here. You do not fire an athletic director and indefinitely suspend a head football coach for late paperwork. Just Walker, we've all scanned the article. What are your quick thoughts on this? Because this is insane.
There has to be more to the story. First of all, there's no there were people out there saying, hey, there's more to the story that has been announced, and there definitely is more to the story. The fact that you fire athletic director and suspend your head coach after allegations that it seemed like it was not really Nolan Catholic's fault, that it doesn't add up. Something is going on behind the scenes that it just hasn't been announced, that it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out. But I mean, it's shocking. It is absolutely shocking. This news has come out this quickly.
Just really quickly, this has to be a gigantic deal because Nolan is still going to be in contention for a state championship. They just indefinitely suspended their head coach, who is a vital part to that team, which will significantly hurt their chances moving forward in the playoffs. Ryan, I haven't turned to you yet. I mean, this news is just insane to break when it did. What are your quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I kind of want to explain myself real quick. We literally got off the podcast. I immediately headed over to my girlfriend's house, and I was like, I get a text from Walker saying, did you hear what just happened? And it literally was like 10 minutes since we got off the podcast. So you're going to listen to the podcast when it comes out this week, and you're going to hear our opinions and stuff like that on it. And just know that's prior to this coming out, like all that kind of stuff. And it's still good to hear our opinions on the situation prior to it, so you can kind of gain both perspectives kind of thing. But it's totally different now. It's totally different. And there's so much more stuff that we didn't know. A precursor to what I said during the episode was the fact that we just needed to hear more from Taps on this side of things, but we don't really need to hear from Taps at this point, honestly. It basically just needs to come from Nolan Catholic at this point, because Nolan Catholic has basically just shown to us that whatever they were claiming is more than it's more than that. And I don't want to speculate to the point where it could be something like bad, but it's going to come down to a point where this wasn't just players coming as just coming to play for the school. This probably involves some sort of money at this point.
I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. I mean, the story initially broke by Greg Riddle of the Dallas Morning News. It states that that the AD is going to be replaced by interim current assistant athletic director. Coach Beaudin's duties have been assigned to interim Nolan strength and conditioning coach and defensive coach KJ Williams. Basically it is said we have the highest confidence in Mr. Farda and Mr. Williams moving forward this season. Does that mean that Williams is taking over Beaudin's duties for the rest of the season? Now, moving forward, this season can be read a lot of different ways. I'm guessing that Nolan's only going to take this for a few games. Worst case scenario, what if Beaudin is done for the season at Nolan? What does this mean for a team that really, really thinks that they can compete for a TAP state championship? I mean, either of y'all, what are your thoughts on Beaudin potentially being done for the season?
I mean, that's a huge loss. Coach Beaudin is one of the most, reputable coaches in the state for how good he is at coaching this team for the past couple of years. And I will say this, Coach KJ Williams has been a very trusted and well-known guy for being that strength and conditioning coach over there for Nolan Catholic for the past couple of years. I know he's been a very high reputable dude. So they have a good guy there no matter what, but I mean, losing Coach Beaudin, no matter who it is, losing your head coach mid-season it's a shocking turn of events, and that cloud of what is going on really is going to be over that team for the rest of the season. And it is shocking. Like, this is going to be a big time story for the rest of the year of what continues to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to make another one of these in a week or so of like, what's going to happen next? Because yeah, I think Nolan Catholic, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I would love to hear from Taps too. I know, Ryan, you said this doesn't really look like it involves Taps, but I would love to hear from what Taps has to say on this because I mean, you're speaking about Parrish and Nolan are the two biggest teams in private school right now. No matter who it is, those are the two biggest teams. You're talking about one of your top two biggest teams, biggest well-known schools suspends their head coach and loses their AD in a span of a week after saying Taps looks like Taps kind of fumbled the bag on it. That's big. You have to understand Taps has to kind of take care of their people, but also lay the hammer down and be like, this is what happened. And I expect that to happen.
No, without a doubt. I mean, this has gone from something that looks like it was just going to be a chip on Nolan's shoulder to an absolute just tornado of garbage coming at Nolan from all directions. I mean, this could be something that makes or breaks a season. That's how big this news is. And plus, first of all, this isn't Taps suspending and firing the people at Nolan. This is Nolan doing this internally, which tells you, if you've ever seen a college do this, this is a school trying to cover its own hind end before Taps can get to them. Nolan knows it's done something incredibly wrong, and it's trying to do everything in its power to punish itself before Taps can punish them. And just, I mean, really quickly, looking from quotes from the old Dallas Morning News article talking about the initial forfeits, Nolan must have outright lied about this, because Beaudin said in a quote, "We're extremely disappointed. Our athletic director, Jordan Hampton, actually reached out to TAPS leadership to get guidance, and that included the president of TAPS, the vice president, the director of compliance. All of them told us to play those students because, in their words, a delay in paperwork shouldn't hold these kids up. All these kids weren't 100% eligible. They always have been in terms of wrongdoing. It's simply submitted on time." And it says all the paperwork got hung up in TAPS. Something in that has to be a gigantic lie, like an outright lie. That's the only, because people aren't getting fired and suspended over delayed paperwork. That's just simply not how this works. I mean, Ryan, just what do you think about just everything that's just transpired and what I just read?
I think what you have to realize is that I want to go back to Walker's point in a second, but I'll mention what you said is, yeah, they said a ton of stuff that obviously at this point has to be wrong. Like, that is crazy. They came out and didn't even give a chance the fact that they could be in the wrong. They immediately just pushed every bit of the blame on TAPS. Well, going back to this, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody that knows private schools knows that this comes from a board of directors at the school. This is a Nolan Catholic board of directors. And we all had one at our schools. You have a headmaster who's over basically the entire school. And then you have a board of directors who is over basically just people that have been appointed over time, donors, all that kind of stuff. These are the people that basically run the school, which means, crazily enough, the Nolan Catholic donors and maybe even the Catholic Church that's associated with Nolan, assuming that they have something like that associated with them, probably just basically just like, did exactly what you said. They're covering up their tracks. Not to go down the line, but when Oklahoma State started doing stuff where they started like, trying to, I don't know, the whole Oklahoma State thing with like Cade last year and like figuring out whether we are going to be eligible or not for like the playoffs and all that stuff like that. And any team before this is a great example. It's just teams trying to cover their own butt so they don't get a horrible suspension. I think what you have to realize here is that it's bigger. It's bigger than what we'll see. And I actually take back what I said. I would love for Taps to say something. I mean, I said that in the episode, but it just makes more sense at this point. Everyone's kind of going to be leaning toward their side at this point now. I mean, because if no one thinks that they did something wrong to the point where they would fire people and do all that, then that's what it is. This will be the last thing I say, honestly, for I guess this, but I honestly don't think Nolan. I think Nolan's going to be fine. And that might be a bold statement to make, but I think they'll be okay. I think they're going to run it out. I think they're going to do well. And yes, this chip on the shoulder has more turned into like a tragedy for the team, but I don't know. I think what you have to realize is these kids are grown men who have I mean, it's grown men more than any other school in TAPS at this point, and they have college offers and stuff like that. These guys know what it's like to play under pressure, and this is just more pressure for them. So something to prove. It might be out of my words at this point, but I don't know. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot.
No, you bring up a good point. I'm now very interested to see if the Diocese of Fort Worth has gotten involved with this, which is the Catholic Church. I'm going to do some more digging tomorrow, figure it out if it's only Nolan administration or if the diocese is reaching in and just what is going on. But this just simply was kind of our initial thoughts on this. Walker, do you have anything to close us out of this emergency podcast?
I think we just have to also just stay tuned and see what comes out of this, because like this is our live reaction, and maybe in a week from now everything comes out of like actually what happens, and then it's everything that we thought happened is not. So we just kind of have to wait and see. But the tea leaves kind of are showing this direction, and it kind of looks like that.
No, and again, going on.
I was going to say, I'll let you talk, but this is kind of a reason to stay tuned with us, by the way. Thank y'all for 1,000 followers. I would like to mention that real quick, just because, that is important. We got 1,000 followers on Twitter, and I'd really like to say that that's really just going to be a key part of this. We want to share as much information with y'all as possible. The reason why we even feel so more into it now is because we're getting so much engagement back for y'all, and we love how y'all respond to the podcast and the rankings. So keep on doing that. And that's all I got to say. That's all I really got to say. I really genuinely think that, this is going to be good, and we're going to be able to actually share a lot more, informative stuff also with these emergency podcasts that may be coming out about Nolan Catholic.
No, without a doubt. And just remember, like Walker said, this is our gut reactions. Like we turned on the Zoom and we just started going. This is by no means solid fact and truth of the matter. This is just our knee-jerk reactions to seeing this article. So again, if you're watching this and you made it to this point, embrace debate in the comments. State your point of view. We want to hear from you. We want to hear all sides of the story from what's going on. But that is actually all we have for this emergency podcast. We will keep you updated as the story continues to break, because it is the biggest news we have heard in TAPS so far. But this is Wes Tolleson with Texas Private School Podcast. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have very shortly been themselves in this emergency pod. We'll see you in the next edition.